February the 8th. I just stopped listening to the US Supreme Court hearing about Trump's ballot eligibility. What? Someone had to do it. You'd think I have planned so I would have an angle to talk about it in some way, but honestly, that would make me out as more of a planner than I am. I've become a very detailed planner in my writing because, and here we have yet another example about a story that rules us and how we perceive reality, we expect ideas to be presented in a certain way. Whether it's a book or a movie or a TV show, they are all organized into 8 equally long parts, and in each of these 8 equally long parts, certain things have to happen inside the hero and in the outside world. Anything else will be in all likeliness ejected, even though it puts shackles on what we are able to imagine. We know today that the world doesn't work in a chain of challenge and solution and a perpetual ride toward progress, but it's what we want to believe. Anyway, what I do here is as much recording my own quest to quell my curiosity and to discover me as it is showing my love to you by pouring, without being asked, I understand this, knowledge over unwitting bystanders. So it's not planned, but perfectly fitting that I can explain today why the argument, let the voter decide, as heard by Justice Kavanaugh just now, is a dishonest argument where we are today. This is also be a brief discussion about why great ideas don't remain great ideas for all eternity. Firstly, I want to clear something up. While voting can signify the presence of democracy, democracy is not voting. In East Germany, citizens had not just the right, but the duty to vote. There were also more than one party on the ballot. There was, of course, the problem that the results of the election was a foregone conclusion, but that wasn't the most certain signifier of a lack of democracy. That was the lack of debate, the lack of conversations. Democracy exists when the people are in conversation about the stories that govern them and how they should be adjusted. That requires of every single participant knowledge of itself, about the stories and other factors that make up their reality and are the basis of their decisions, realization that our free will isn't that free at all, and where their attention is, and active listening to the insights of the others. It requires trust, what requires relationships, and on a very fundamental level, the acknowledgement that the other is a conscious, intelligent being just like oneself, not the enemy, a partner. What about knowledge? For the longest time we said knowledge, information is power, because for the longest time in history information was scarce. But now we live in an age when we are flooded by enormous amounts of information. We have far too much of it and have trouble making sense of it. Censorship now comes in the shape of distracting people with too much information, with irrelevant information, with disinformation. Our most scarce resource has always been lifetime, but now it becomes even more limited to our attention. When we pay attention to one thing, we can't pay attention to something else. What grabs our attention becomes important, becomes a little stone in the permanent building process that is our reality, becomes another influence on our decision. And the manipulation of our attention has been fine-tuned with algorithms over the course of the last decade or so. It's called the attention economy and works on the basis of excitement. Our brains are wired to pay attention to excitement and to crave it. But that developed when we lived in a scarce information environment, and the collection of data was like a game of hide and seek. We leaned into uncertainty and our curiosity because these were places to learn something new, refine our brains, and have a better chance of survival. Look, there's an apple. Look, there's a lion. Excitement, survival. Excitement isn't happiness. Excitement isn't always good. Fear is excitement. Anger, hate. Excitement means we are in fight and flight mode. Adrenaline is pumped into our organism. An organism that's constantly excited can't compute the new information. Look the apple, look the lion, look the grapes, look. You can't even think anymore. And you only react. An organism that's constantly excited dies. Back to democracy, since Citizens United versus FEC, a handful of people flooded the market with tons of money to buy attention, your attention, to keep people constantly excited, you, to censor by information flooding, you. It ruins the trust, your trust. It ruins the conversation, our old conversation. There's no longer a democracy, and to declare people should solve the problem of Trump with their vote actually means to encourage a favorable result for the person best at manipulating your attention. The understanding of that sinking into the minds of everyone any day now would be great, because the problem will only increase when the conversations will be flooded with AI agents able to even greater manipulations. We need to engage in real conversations about what we want. This means getting to know ourselves, also known as thinking. So think, make a habit out of thinking, make thinking a movement to save democracy, not as one of the results. Like, comment, share, and as always, thank you for gifting me with a few minutes of your most precious, your lifetime.